Hello, everyone. I believe your day has started off well and your week is also starting off well. Welcome to today's edition of the E-volve podcast. My name is Adewumi Oni, the host of this podcast. We'll be looking at anger management today. It's a topic that I believe that everyone can relate with. Why is anger management important? I'll start with a story. There was this man, a pastor, who was on his way to church for a meeting or a function on a particular day. And then on the road, this happened in Lagos State. And for those who live in Lagos, Nigeria, you understand that traffic on the road can be interesting and can actually trigger a lot of anger. And so on this particular day, he was driving, and then a bus driver who was in front of him obstructed his way while picking passengers. And that's how sometimes they just stop on the road and then start picking passengers. So he got angry and got parked his vehicle and got out of the car to go warn the passenger, the driver, to leave the road so that he could go drive past. And then the bus driver, instead of apologizing, typically their response was, so who are you? Why are you ordering me to park? And then he got angry and was trying to hold the guy by his shirt. And then the guy got angry, also got out. That's the bus driver got angry, got out of his bus. And while they were arguing, the pastor really got infuriated and then slapped him. And the moment he slapped him, guess what? It wasn't the bus driver that anything happened to. The man himself, the pastor, slumped and died right there. And so two families became disrupted. Immediately, one family lost the breadwinner, the other family became a victim or an object or subject of manslaughter or murder, as legal people would interpret it. So this is what anger can cause, and it is important that we try to look at how to manage anger. So what is anger to start with? Anger is an emotional expression, is an expression, just the same way we feel happy, the same way we feel excited about certain things. It's the same way anger comes, is a natural emotional expression, natural expression. And it's not bad depending on how it is managed. You can channel, it's like an energy, an emotional energy, and it can be channeled rightly, it can also be channeled wrongly. So this podcast edition is to help us to see how we can channel that energy appropriately. Now, for psychologically, the psychology behind our anger is there's a fight or flight response to anger. You can either fight it, or you fly away, or you leave, or you try to avoid it. So fight or flight is one of the psychologies behind anger, and also the triggers behind anger. We also try to look at those triggers behind anger. There are certain myths also about anger. One says that it's better to express your anger aggressively so that whoever you're expressing it to would understand you and get the language or get the message. Other one says it's better to just walk away regardless without addressing the cause of the anger. Several myths. But this session will try to look at some of these and address it. What are the common triggers of anger? I would like to categorize them into two. There is external, there is internal. The external triggers could include things like the story I shared and narrated earlier on. It could include traffic situation. It could include work fatigue or work stress. It could include fatigue itself. It could include family conflicts, social media. It could include unmet expectations. Social media, if you're on one particular social media out, I don't want to demarket anyone. You need to have high level of emotional intelligence to be able to handle some responses or comments to your post or comment to other people's posts. So these are some of the external triggers. Internal triggers include trauma, fatigue, inability to sleep, maybe stress, low self-esteem also can be some of the internal triggers. Also maybe cultural or social influence. That's more of external anyway. So these are some of the triggers of anger. You need to know these triggers before you can deal with them. And then types of anger. There is a passive one, which is more like you bottle up the emotion, keep it inside. But the challenge with that is one day everything that you're bottling up will then erupt, and then it be a volcanic one that it destroys so many things. And then another type of anger is aggressive anger, the one that you just it outburst of that can lead to violence. Like the story I narrated was more like an aggressive anger. The man slapped the bus driver and stopped. I guess at that particular time, it could be because blood pressure may have spiked already before while he was in traffic, and then that anger just triggered it beyond with a reasonable threshold, and then a lot of things would happen within the body, and then it stopped. Assertive anger is more like when you express the anger in a healthy manner, when you are angry or you express it in a healthy manner, like, I do not like that. Let it stop now. I don't like that approach. I do not want that to happen again. And then you express it. And what are the consequences of poor anger management? I've mentioned one. It can lead to death. It can lead to fatality. Lives can be lost. Irreparable damages can be caused. Also, health wise, it can affect your health. It can cause high blood pressure when you continue to bottle up and keep that emotion in yourself without letting it out or finding an healthy way to express it. It can raise your blood pressure and then lead to other cardiovascular issues. It can also weaken your immune system because if as long as the blood pressure is high, it affects the ability of your system to fight certain things, and your immune system becomes weakened. It also affects relationships. It causes conflict. It causes broken relationship. It causes broken trust. It causes a lot of damage. It can damage lifelong relationship. It also affects your work, your productivity at work. Productivity will drop. You are not able to manage or relate with people well. People begin to avoid you because of everything. You just snap and people just keep distance. And so, like the relationships that you should have tapped into or used positively to your advantage, you are losing a lot because everybody is avoiding you. It also causes reduced performance. At work, you are not able to deliver as much as you expected because you're all bottled up. So these are some of the consequences. What are the practical tips or practical steps you can manage anger? The first one is what I would call the short-term strategies. They are short-term in the sense that they're just for immediate response, immediate anger management. The first one is, I always say, if there's anything that is triggering you or you just something that's happened that is making you very angry, can you take a pause and breathe? There's also the strategy of counting 1 to 10 internally. You're not counting it out. That moment of pausing, you're counting down 10, 9, 8. Internally, you are doing that. And as you are doing that, your anger level is reducing. You may still be angry, but at least you have your composure. You are calm enough to address the situation. I say countdown. I used the word countdown deliberately because it is easier to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 than to count down. So countdown will give you enough time to slow down, to get your composure, and also to find the right words to use if you have to speak to that situation. Um, there's this particular scripture that says that a word fitly spoken is like apples of silver in picture of gold, in a frame of gold. When you speak the right word at the right time, it just fits rightly. But a word spoken in anger can destroy a lot of things. And you say, I mean, they say words are like egg. Once they are released, once they fall, it's difficult to gather them back. So that moment of pausing to breathe, to count down from 10 to 1 helps you to catch your breath, to have the right response. And also, another strategy is to step away from the scene of anger. And this, I try to adopt this occasionally when it's really, really I trigger. I probably will just pause, walk away from that scene, and take time to process it and find the right response. And in so doing, there are times where especially maybe at work, someone will say something very annoying that should elicit immediate response if you are the one who lacks that self-control. And then I will just walk away from that scene and get back into my corner, into my office, and just take a chill. I can even take water just to calm myself down. And before I even come to say, okay, let me then go engage this person, person will come to say, it was in the heat of the moment. I apologize for what happened, and then that solves it. And then you are able to express yourself and you resolve the issue. I'm not saying it's always easy. It's not that easy, but if you do it over time, you become more in charge. You become more self-control to handle such issues. Now, the long-term strategies. Don't forget, I said those are the short-term strategies, which is pause and breathe, count down from 10 to 1, also time out or step away from the scene of anger. Now, long-term strategies include exercising and mindfulness, being mindful of the triggers, the thing that trigger your anger and avoiding them is also under emotional intelligence. Being mindful of your triggers and watching out for them and avoiding them. Exercise also helps. It could be running, it could be jogging, it could be walking, it could even be boxing, you are sparring. In that moment, you are letting out all the emotion inside of you. Find what works for you. Exercise can help. Journaling, writing everything that's happened. Get a journal, get a book, daily things, everything as is happening. You go retreat and then you go journal. In the process of writing it down, sometimes your you regain your composure, you regain your calmness, and even you get solutions to say this is the best way to respond. Sometimes you don't even need to respond. The other party would either apologize, or sometimes if it's an emotion that trigger it, you get to regain your composure. And also learning certain communication skills. There's nothing wrong with enrolling yourself for courses to learn how to communicate when you are angry. The right choice of word, the right context when you are to use those words, and also the right expression, because you can be saying something, but your face is saying something else. So you must know that communications can be done verbal, it can be non-verbal. There are verbal cues, there are non-verbal cues. So you need to know, so you can learn all of that also. And also seeking therapy, especially if you know that anger is a major weakness for you. There's nothing wrong to seek therapy or even find support groups. People who share similar problems that you can all hold yourself accountable. Each person hold the other person accountable, and then he helps you to manage it. So these are some of the long-term strategies you can avoid. And also meditation helps. Meditation, taking a walk in the garden, taking a walk in the nature. Nature helps a lot to manage anger, because there's something in nature, there's some freshness, there's a release of positive energy that will help you to regain your composure. Um, for workplace anger, just I'll give some special tips on managing workplace anger. I would advise that try to pause before you react. Weigh your words very carefully. Think of the consequences of every action you take. Every action, they say action and reaction are equal and opposite. Every action has or a reaction. So think very well before you respond. Sometimes walk away from that action, from that saying, to avoid making unnecessary or taking unnecessary step. Also, for parents or even in family context, try as much as possible to listen to the other party. If it involves another person, take time to listen, hear the other side. Do not just be the only one to want to speak. So you must also cultivate the habit of listening and listening attentively. Sometimes we listen to speak to respond. Listen to understand. When you listen to understand, you then find out that maybe you are even misunderstood the other party in the first place. And then the other context is also social media and online interactions. I hardly post comments online. Not that I don't have things to say, but if I know that I can't handle the response that will come back or things, I try to avoid things that will incite other readers. I try to be balanced. I don't maintain a rigid position when you are responding to a situation or a comment online. So be careful to always be balanced. Put yourself in the other person's shoe or the other reader's shoe. Avoid things that can incite religious sentiment, tribal sentiment. Always be careful. And so, in conclusion, I hope today's this session has been helpful as a form of recap. Know your trigger and know how to manage them. Know the external and the internal trigger. Also, adopt either the short-term strategy or the long-term strategy to help yourself. I want to just end with this quote that says, "Anger rests in the bosom of a fool." Unless you are a fool, don't allow that anger to linger too long in your mind. In fact, it is advised that don't allow the sun to set on your anger. It is only a fool that will be carrying anger. I don't know if you picture anger to be like a coal, a burning coal, and then you put it in in your body. Will you be able to withstand it? Definitely not. So it's only a fool that allows anger to rest to linger too much in their mind. So do not be one, and I'm sure you're not one. I want to encourage you this week to practice one of the anger management the techniques I've mentioned earlier on, and I see you succeeding. Do not forget that we are all on a journey, and so let's keep evolving together. Thank you. We will see you again next week. Bye.